What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Bayou Bengals. So let's get into it. So Brian Kelly had his press conference yesterday. I want to talk a little bit about what he touched on in it. So he's talking about Zalance Hurd, and I discussed this yesterday. You know, Zalance Hurd probably is not going to be ready to play year one, but he's a guy who's going to he's going to definitely get an opportunity at some point. Really like Hurd's game, big physical, strong presence. He played opposite of Will Campbell in high school. Talk about a dynamic offensive tackle combination. But yeah, I mean, Campbell definitely a talented young player. You know, LSU quietly getting pretty good depth on the offensive line. If you look at it, Lungsford, Martinez, some of the backup interior guys, Chester, Hurd. They did a really good job of filling out their depth on the offensive line nicely. I think that's really important because, you know, you look at, you know, they only go into the three deep at right tackle. Paul Mukbanga was another guy I really like, a true incoming freshman. I haven't really heard a lot of buzz from him, but he's got a skill set I like too. Maybe he'll get a chance at some point to play, maybe this year or next year. I think he's got a bright future though. So yeah, he's a nice skill set there. So yeah, Hurd, Lungsford, Martinez, Chester, Mubanga, you know, some nice depth on the offensive line overall. So I was listening to, and then Brian Kelly was asked about Sage Ryan. Sage Ryan, you know, again, former 5-star guy. I think that's kind of in the distant past now. The main thing with Sage Ryan is, can this guy just be can he be good in coverage? Can he be a sure tackler? Can he cover with some of the speedy wide receivers in the SEC? That's the main question for Sage Ryan. The answer to me is yes, but I think with Sage, they've been playing him at outside corner. Brian Kelly talked about how he's smart, he's a good tackler, he's a guy that runs 20-some miles per hour. So Sage Ryan, you know, whether he's playing outside corner, in the slot, can he match up with some of the speedier wide receivers? Can he continue to make plays on the ball, work back to the football, all the things he shows he can do, you know, make big hits, sure tackles. We see him do that more consistently. And how high is the ceiling for Sage Ryan? You know, I don't think Sage Ryan is a true difference maker at corner, but I think he is a guy with a skill set that can really help this football team. And when he gets on the field, he certainly, you know, he's a guy that the coaching staff and his teammates should have a lot of trust and coverage in. So, yeah, I like Ryan's overall game. I think he's a good player. I'm excited to see that he's progressing and having a nice camp, and it sounds like he had a nice scrimmage as well. But yeah, so back to Kaleb Jackson. So Kaleb Jackson getting a lot of buzz. If you watch Kaleb Jackson's high school tape at running back, I keep worrying this thing's gonna fall. But if you watch his high school tape, you know that this guy, the quick start ability, long speed, you know, especially on outside zone, that's where Kaleb Jackson really excelled. You know the skill set this guy brings. The question with Kaleb Jackson is, you know, are we going to see him this year? And Brian Kelly kind of downplayed, you know, the Kaleb Jackson hype, meaning that he's going to be a guy that's probably not going to play until, you know, make an impact really until next year, you know, or not necessarily that. He's a guy that's got a ways to go. So what I assume maybe he's not really executing his plays at the as high a level possible. But to me, you know, if you're struggling in the run game and you're in Diggs and Goodwin and Williams, some of your veteran guys aren't getting it done, it could turn into like 2017 Alabama. Maybe you turn to Kaleb Jackson. You know, that's the thing, Brian Kelly, you got to respect that if veterans are further, you don't just want to go with true freshmen just because, like, here's the thing, coaches kind of have this back and forth. It's one of those things where, you know, coaches, you hear a lot of coaches preach, best player plays, but you also don't want to, you know, if a veteran guy, if you have a lot of trust in a veteran guy, you don't just want to go with a young guy just because he's better. Like, you don't just want to get into a habit of playing young players, because that can really come back to haunt you, because it can really piss off your veterans. I think that's why Kaleb Jackson, that's why that becomes a perfect situation for young freshmen, because, you know, if veterans aren't, I won't say playing hard, but if veterans aren't giving you that high-end play, at a consistent level, that's when you got to turn to your younger guys. I think that's what coaches love about veteran players, like the Goodwins, the Diggs, the Williams. Certainly what they have at running back is they know they understand, they know what they're going to get consistently. Like Josh Williams is not going to he's not going to take over any games this year, but can Josh Williams consistently get 3-4 yards? Absolutely. And can he be a guy who will consistently put his head down, fight for yardage? She has enough ability to usually can make the first man miss. So I think that's what they ask from Josh Williams, and he delivers on a consistent basis. So I guess that's probably what Brian Kelly thinks with Kaleb Jackson, that Kaleb Jackson has a lot of ability, but if he's making mistakes mentally in practice and he's not playing it as fast as he possibly can because he's thinking a little bit, then I don't know, then can we trust to put him out there week 1 against Florida State on a 3rd and 3 where we need 3 yards and we can't afford to we can't afford to lose yardage. So to me, I think Brian Kelly's been doing this a long time. You got to trust what he sees. He admitted that he's been wrong before, but also I think this is a guy that, and I'm sure he should be open to playing Kaleb Jackson and not being afraid to pull the trigger and get some of the young freshmen in the game if they need to. But yeah, I mean, should be fun. Should be fun to see how the running back rotation plays out this year. Armani Goodwin, the more I watch of Armani Goodwin, the more I really get an appreciation for his game. I think he's got a good all-around game. I think that's why they brought in Logan Diggs. They wanted another guy with just a really good all-around game. Josh Williams too. It seems like Lane Kiffin. I think Lane Kiffin was talking about this. Steve Sarkisian, that but the days of the true, just between the tackles running back who's just an adequate or below average pass catcher, those days are kind of over. You want a running back that can do it all. But get the modern game, you look at the value of running backs today, the modern game is becoming, you have to be able to catch the ball. You got to be that dual threat running back. You can't just be, that was Adrian Peterson could kind of get away with that for a long time, not being the best out the backfield. You can't just be that guy. I mean, I guess unless you're Adrian Peterson, maybe they'll make an exception for you. But how many guys are Adrian Peterson? So that's the ideal thing, is they want guys that can run and catch at the running back. It's almost become a must now. So yeah, but yeah, I mean. So yeah, we talked the running back a lot. Kind of shift here to linebacker. So yeah, Whit Weeks. Let's talk Whit Weeks. So Brian Kelly mentioned Whit Weeks' name, and I'd say that Brian Kelly is honest as he can be, and he seems like a straight shooter. To me, must be Whit Weeks is doing pretty well. But he said something about, can we trust Ashton Stamps and Whit Weeks? That was part of the fall scrimmage. Can we trust some of these young guys? Can we depend on them? What that tells me is, Whit Weeks probably going through some growing pains, probably making some mental mistakes, but he's got a skill set where, he continues to put on some more size. I think he's put on some. This is a guy who I think could be a really strong football player for LSU this year. But because his movement skills are excellent, I just think, has he put on enough size to consistently take on blocks? I think right now he's up to 222 maybe. Probably ideally you want to get him to 230, 235. Did show enough ability to get off of blocks. Is he ever going to be that guy that's kind of like, is he ever going to be have Omar Spates' ability to really do both, shed blocks and really cover at a high level? I don't think he'll ever be a high level block shedder, but I think he does it at enough level that you combine that with his athleticism, side to side movement, ability to navigate traffic very well and stay in a good position. I think when you combine all that skill set, I think that really is what's key for Whit Weeks to become a really good player for LSU. But yeah, a lot of questions about Chris Hilton. Chris Hilton sounds like he's done really well. Had a really nice camp. Brian Kelly talked about how staying healthy for him is number one is key, and number two, being a consistent pass catcher. You know, this guy has not really been, you know, from what I've seen, he's had drops. Nick Saban was talking about this in a press conference the other day. If you're a wide receiver, you should really never drop a ball. I mean, obviously things are going to happen, tight coverage, pass breakups will happen, but if you're wide open, you never should drop a ball because you're a wide receiver. Your job is to receive the ball, to catch the ball. So that's the thing with Chris Hilton. All the speed, all the things he can do after the catch is great, but if you don't secure the ball first, none of that really matters. So keep an eye at Chris Hilton. Certainly one of the key guys to watch. He's a guy that, you know, I think it's funny. They asked other players and coaches about him because Chris Hilton is not I don't think he's a super talkative guy. So yeah, the media likes to ask Brian Kelly and some of the coaching staff about Chris Hilton because Chris Hilton doesn't always say a lot to the media as far as, you know, when he's been interviewed. But talented guy with size, does show a lot of ability. So yeah, Chris Hilton. You know, we talked about the receiver core almost ad nauseum, but you know, you got four guys that could put a lot of pressure on defense with the skill set they bring, and Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, Chris Hilton, Kyron Lacey. So four legitimate threats at the wide receiver position. We'll see. Hopefully the freshmen, I haven't really heard a whole lot. Kai Preen, Sampson, Kyle Parker. Hopefully the young true freshmen continue to progress and continue to do some nice things. But a nice receiving core with depth and in hopes of, you know, one or two freshmen emerging and making an impact this year. Yeah, they asked Brian Kelly who's going to wear number 18 and 7. It doesn't sound like they have announced that yet. That'll be cool to see which guys get to wear those numbers. Harold Perkins is going to wear number 4 this year. I like Omar Spates with the number 1 jersey. I think that looks pretty clean on him. And then, yeah, I think, you know, I've talked Major Burns a ton, but Major Burns, it's interesting how much questions people ask about Major Burns. You know, that shows me that Major Burns, I think that kind of indirectly says that Major Burns is a key piece and will be one of the unsung heroes for this LSU football team. So yeah, Major Burns, keep an eye on him this season. Number 28 for LSU. I think he's got a chance to, you know, speaking of wearing number 7 or 18, I think Major Burns, a candidate for that. I think Craig Brooks would be a candidate. Yeah, a lot of good candidates. And the media keeps asking about Zy Alexander too. Zy Alexander, a really good player, transfer from southeastern Louisiana. Sounds like he had a nice fall scrimmage. And the thing I like about, you know, I just watched him in the spring game. The thing I like about Zy Alexander, he looks like he belongs. You know, everyone keeps questioning. You know, you feel like people asking that question repeatedly, almost in a weird way, means that they are confident that he can play at the SEC level. Because, like, you have to keep asking that. You know, to me, I don't know. I guess that doesn't make sense, but I don't know. I feel like, you know, when you see him competing and playing well, doesn't that just, can't you just, at some point you just don't, you feel like you can't really ask that anymore. At some point that's just kind of known. Like, oh, it looks like he belongs in the spring game, out there making plays, doing well in practice. You know, tape that spoke for itself in high school as far as athletic ability. Tape at Southeastern Louisiana that was excellent. So at some point, why do we just keep questioning, can he do it? And I think he is, you know, to me the evidence is already there with Zy Alexander. He's going to have a lot of Florida State fans were commenting on my one video. LSU is going to have their hands full with Florida State wide receivers. But to me, I think if LSU has the edge on the line of scrimmage as far as the defensive line, like Mason Smith, Wingo, Savion Jones, the LSU defensive line winning the edge against Florida State's offensive line, to me, I think then I think the LSU corners will be just fine. I think if they lose the line of scrimmage and you have more time for Travis to throw, more time for the receivers to get into the routes, I think that's when you'll see Alexander, Chestnut, some of the LSU corners really struggle against Johnny Wilson, Coleman, and some of the Florida State receivers. So that's what I worry about. So that's what kind of goes back to, that's what's key for LSU in that game is their defensive line. Their defensive line has to have an edge in that game over the Florida State offensive line. Even if it's a slight edge, they have to have an edge because you can't put, Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, even Jaheim Bell, you cannot put them on too many one-on-one situations. Now, I know LSU can mix in some zone coverage, which can help, but you feel like even if you do that, then I feel like, Travis can buy some time, he can hit some checkdowns. So, that's the thing, I guess. I've got Florida State fans, you guys have really come for me. But I'll say this, to give you guys why I think what can be key is, the confidence that you guys won the line of scrimmage last year, to me, a lot of times that can carry over into the next year. I'll give you an example. So Michigan beat Ohio State in 2021. And this year, in 2022, or they controlled the line of scrimmage in that game. This year, coming into this year, a lot of Michigan players said after the game they were confident they could control the line of scrimmage. If you have that true belief in your head, that goes a long way. I think for Florida State, if they come into this game, even with Mason Smith back and probably an improved LSU team, if they come into this game with the mindset they can control and win the line of scrimmage on both sides, I think that goes a long way. Because there is some of the same players back. Lovett's back on the defensive line for Florida State. They got Jared Verse, Deloach, a linebacker. So there is guys that were on that last year's team that believe that they can win the line of scrimmage. And Will Campbell, though, I think Will Campbell versus the Florida State defensive line, we'll see how many times he's matched up against Jared Verse, but Will Campbell will have some more knowledge this year that I think will be crucial going into that game. If you remember Will Campbell, that was his first game last year as a true freshman. Emory Jones, that was his first game. Jones didn't even get the start in that game. So I think Will Campbell has a chance to really shine in that game. And I think he'll really embrace the challenge of that game along with Mason Smith, knowing that he didn't play his best game. Mason Smith got injured. So, a lot of LSU guys are really hungry to really get a second chance at Florida State, or at least they should be. I guess the worry for LSU is, maybe, and then kind of, I guess, playing devil's advocate for LSU, kind of giving more, another reason why Florida State would have the edge is, Florida State, I think they want to prove that the hype is real. Now, you can say LSU obviously wants to prove that the hype is real too, because they're getting a ton of buzz, top 5 AP ranking, all that stuff. But Florida State is, I'm sure they're seeing maybe not people necessarily like me, but they are seeing Joel Klatt and some of the people, there are some of the buzz right now that is Florida State overrated. So, to me, Florida State wants to get back on track and really show people that they're for real, then this is a great opportunity. Because, not that history is always telling of how this Florida State team's going to go. To me, I guess this, like a big win, like I talked about if LSU blows out Florida State. If Florida State blows out LSU, that could be the stamp and the turning point that Florida State legitimately is back, and that Mike Norvell and this Florida State is not only probably for real this year, but in the future. Because if you remember, Florida State in 2012 had a really good season, and they came into the 2013 season with Winston and all those guys, and they had that matchup with Clemson, and they destroyed Clemson, and that's when you knew it was real. I guess for every championship team, and I kind of talked about this with LSU. I know we're straying a little bit on Florida State, but I think this kind of goes. I think this kind of goes a little bit with LSU situation. For every championship team, there's that one game where you see it. And now LSU 2019, you didn't really see it necessarily in that first game because it was against a weaker team. and they kind of struggled, but you kind of see every team has a game, and Florida State has that opportunity against LSU to really show people how for real they are. Like if this offense just lights it up, Jaheim Bell, Keon Coleman, Jordan Travis just light up the LSU defense. We see how explosive Florida State is. You see Mike Norvell really coach and manage the game super well. Then to me that says that Florida State, they are who people who some people think they are, and they can go out and go out and get it done. So I think strong case for Florida State to win this game. But yeah, it's gonna be an exciting game. Sunday night, 7:30, like Greg Brooks talked about. It's the only no NFL yet, so this is the college football's really chance to shine. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun one, and looking forward to it. But yeah, we'll talk the LSU linebackers a little more. Greg Penn's certainly a key guy for LSU this year. Greg Penn, last year I watched him. I was just kind of like every play I was hoping he was just going to play better. And I don't mean that as a shot at him, but I know that there's a little more meat on the bone as far as Greg Penn's game. So hopefully he continues to improve. West Weeks, we talk about Whit Weeks. West Weeks, a transfer from Virginia, a guy, solid linebacker too. Does he get in the mix this year is the big question. But yeah, the LSU linebacking core, pretty solid unit overall. And there's definitely talent there. Spates, Perkins, the main guys. I think it's important that Brian Kelly stressed that Perkins needs to learn some of the nuances of the linebacker position. Last year they were just kind of putting him out there as an edge guy, just letting him be an athlete. Now he's going to try to really get a full grasp of the position, some of the, like I touched on, the nuances, how to play linebacker. So Harold Perkins, how he does this year, does he just look more mature? Does he look more like like he's got a true position? Now, we touched on his skill set is so unique and so elite that he doesn't necessarily need to have a true position. He can just make plays regardless, but I think it's important that he does develop a position. The NFL just look at Isaiah Simmons. It's kind of been an uphill battle for him in the NFL because he just never found a true, I guess there's not really a true position that he really excels at. So you feel like with Harold Perkins, he has such elite traits that, I think the Micah Parsons comparisons are real. And that sounds crazy, but I think the comparisons to Micah Parsons are real just because those movement skills like that just are so rare. And also just, to me, like when you have movement skills like that, you can play edge rusher or linebacker at a high level. Now, can he come into the NFL and be the top graded linebacker for a few weeks and then the top graded edge rusher like Micah Parsons? Maybe not. But can he be a guy who, if he is an off-ball linebacker, just is rock solid as they come and really good and be, have a long career, be a, several-time Pro Bowler, have some highlight plays where he's chasing guys down and running sideline to sideline, maybe not always disrupting havoc in the backfield, maybe not always, thumping a guy when he comes through, when he meets him at the hole. Would that be Harold Perkins' game? I know we're projecting here down the road, but to me, I don't think that'll necessarily be his game in the NFL, but will he certainly have some highlight chase down tackles and, maybe chase guys from behind, force fumbles. See some of that this year and in the NFL, certainly. But that is projecting that's projecting down the road if in the NFL he does stay as a true off-ball linebacker. But I don't know. I think he does have a future as an edge rusher, just because I'll say this: I don't think he'll ever. Could he be Von Miller in his prime? I think you could see some flashes of Von Miller. I know I'm getting a little crazy with some of the comparisons, but when you have a guy with this type of movement skills, you can make some of these comparisons, especially if he's got some of these elite traits. Do I ever think he'd be Von Miller, like the mix of speed, power, quickness? I think that power and strength element is missing from his game to combine all those, but I think you could argue his his bend is just so elite that I think that'll help him to have a lot of success in the NFL, though. But yeah, Harold Perkins, absolute stud, monster, elite traits. Gonna have an excellent season for the Tigers this year, and I can't wait to watch. But yeah, Brian Kelly touched on Savion Jones. So it sounds like Savion Jones having a nice camp. Savion Jones, a talented guy too, former big-time recruit. If you didn't know anything about Savion Jones, like his game, if you just knew he was a 4-star recruit, you look at his size, read a quick scouting report, you would assume this guy was going to get on the field for LSU at some point. It just seems like LSU has a knack for, getting getting high recruited edge rushers on the field and having them be impactful. And Savion Jones, no different. Got a skill set where he can be a really nice player, not only this year but in the future, and a guy with a skill set to make it in the NFL. But yeah, they need him to, even if he's not dominant, I think a really good season out of him is just an excellent. Would be an excellent compliment for Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo and Gilroy, some of the guys that are disruptive on the interior, I think. So yeah, just a nice, solid year is exactly from Savion Jones is exactly what they need to really, I'd say, boost this offensive line and get it to maybe take it from good to great. Because even if Savion Jones doesn't live up to the hype, like if he doesn't play well this year, I feel like Wingo and Mason Smith have done enough where they're going to have a high floor as far as the defensive line is concerned. But can Savion Jones give them that extra boost is the main question. All right, so let's talk. And then at the jack position. So yeah, it sounds like Brian Kelly, that position might still be open a bit. It sounds like Ogofu probably has the edge. Like Ogofu probably is probably the best fit at that position, just because of his experience, ability to win with speed, good motor, competitive. Actually has a solid strength. So I think Ogofu has the edge at that position. But don't forget about Braden Swinson, the transfer from Oregon too. Swinson could be in the mix there as well. But yeah, I think that position will be fascinating. And I love that, I've kind of touched on this before. I love that even though Swinson and Ogofu aren't going to be like true dominant guys at that position, I think I like that LSU just went out and got them because, they're going to add some depth, experience, and they're going to be just really solid enough that they're going to present a challenge for opposing offenses. So those guys will be fun. It'll be fun to see them out there. But yeah, I think the hope for LSU. Hopefully you get a healthy Mason Smith the whole year. What this guy's capable of, just a complete disruptor. When I watch Mason Smith tape, you just get a sense that this guy just looks comfortable playing football. It looks like it's easy for him. It looks like the game's at a slow pace. That's always really indicative of a good player. Just how does the game look easy for him? I think that's the case with Mason Smith. The game really slows down. It looks easy for him. He knows how to rush kind of with, obviously you want to rush quickly, but he knows how to rush with patience so he can put himself in a position where he can see, read the quarterback, read the play, and while maintaining good leverage. So I think that's really important. And that's really what I like about Mason Smith's game. But yeah, I got to continue to watch some more tape on these LSU players. I've tried to watch almost every starter, or all their starters too deep, watch some of their high school highlights, or their all-22 tape as much as I can get, just to get a grasp of some of the guys' skill sets, some of their high-end playmaking ability, and get a grasp of their overall traits. But yeah, the LSU offensive line, the question is, are they going to be elite this year? That's the burning question. I don't always, I don't want to keep saying I hope, but you get the feel, like it's feeling like LSU's offensive line could be elite. I think that you hope that Jaden Daniels, there is plays where, like, hopefully Jaden Daniels does not become too comfortable and spoiled with the LSU offensive line, because there is some plays where, Emory Jones was beat a few more times in pass protection last year than, hopefully he cleans that up. I think Jones is he is a better run blocker. I know LSU fans have touched on that, but you hope that Jaden Daniels doesn't become too comfortable with his offensive line protecting him. Sometimes a good offensive line, good protection can be a detriment at times. Obviously, that doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense, but I'd say at times, because when you have it in your mind that you're going to have good protection every play, you almost kind of, your brain is not, you kind of, not really that your brain shuts off, but part of your brain kind of gets comfortable knowing that you're going to have time, and if there is a play where a defender beats his man, then you're not, it comes as a surprise. In the Florida State game, there was a play where Emory Jones got beat. It was against Florida. Brenton Cox, the Florida defender, beat Emory Jones quickly, and Jaden Daniels just, got sacked. Didn't expect it at all. So you kind of can become spoiled with that protection to a point where, you can have a play where a defender just gets off the offensive lineman quickly, and you get hit before you even know it, and that's not a good thing. That's where you see the strip sack fumbles. So hopefully Jaden Daniels, obviously, you want him to have confidence in his offensive line, but hopefully he can still keep that sixth sense to know where the pressure's coming from and to know when to scramble. So hopefully he doesn't get too happy feet this year. And you want to see Jaden Daniels just really excel as a passer and continue to take those next steps as a passer. But yeah, Jaden Daniels, the more I watch Jaden Daniels, at times I've sounded like a hater on Jaden Daniels, but the more and more you watch, I agree with a lot of you LSU, like a lot of other LSU fans, that Jaden Daniels does have there is games where he really kept LSU in it with his ability to run. So I know one of you guys comment that, and I kind of retract, and I agree with you that Daniels really did keep him in a lot of games with his running ability. Not that with someone else maybe they would have lost, but Jaden Daniels' running threat just put so much pressure on the defense that they really had to, the defense couldn't be confident in they couldn't drop into coverage fully confident, because they knew of the ability that Jaden Daniels had as a runner. So you hope Daniels takes the next step as a passer, and you hope that he stays, you hope his scrambling and running ability continues to be at a high level. But yeah, quarterback. So the quarterback depth chart: Daniels 1, it appears. Nussmeier 2. Ricky Collins, the freshman, talented freshman. So yeah, I like what Brian Kelly said, that with Ricky Collins being the third quarterback, you can't really put it past that he's going to be in the mix. It's if you're a third quarterback, if you're a third string position at almost any school, you're in the mix. So we'll see. Maybe they try to get Ricky Collins some reps in a game that's closer. But shoot, I think I just missed my exit there. But yeah, Collins, a really good football player, and does have a skill set that he could really, could eventually be a starter. Because to me, the more I've watched football, and I think that was the worry by most about Garrett Nussmeier transferring. The more you watch, and there's it just kind of goes hand in hand when we talk about Kaleb Jackson. It seems like freshmen are being pushed more and more to play, because that's kind of the aha moment in scouting. If a guy's good enough, if a guy's really that good, then play him as a freshman. Just get that high-end talent out of the field right away. He'll beat out everyone else. I think that was the worry why Nussmeier was going to transfer, because, if he can't beat out Daniels now, will he ever be? Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to be a good. Now, that doesn't mean he can't be a good quarterback. But if he's not, if Daniels is the guy right now, does that kind of leave some of that worry in your mind that maybe Nussmeier doesn't have as high a ceiling as we think, just based on that evidence? So I think it's something to ponder, or I think it's something to keep in mind. But yeah, Nussmeier, I think, honestly, I think Nussmeier, I think the gap, I think Nussmeier probably is a little more talented overall, but it goes back to the conversation where, go back to Kaleb Jackson, that, is Nussmeier more, is he way more, he's not more enough, he's not more superior to Jaden Daniels talent-wise, where you want to sacrifice the experience and the running ability and the playmaking on the run of Jaden Daniels just to play Nussmeier. So that's why I think that's where you find that happy medium with coaches, that you want to play younger guys with high-level traits. You want to play them, but you also don't want to sacrifice. You don't want to just give up on veteran guys who have done a lot for your program and that play at a consistently high level. So that's interesting stuff. But yeah, I think a lot of LSU fans really just are all for Jaden Daniels. He is just an incredible athlete, really good player, and should have a really nice season this year. Second in the preseason Heisman odds, and yeah, a guy that's fifth-year senior, a guy with just a lot of playing time, a lot of experience. It goes back to people really like Anthony Richardson coming out this year. It looks like he's doing some nice things for the Colts, but there's examples of, look at Joe Burrow as a Michigan, following Michigan, Jake Rudock. And sometimes you want a guy with just a lot of experience, especially at quarterback. It seems like sometimes a lot of times, it seems like the more experience, the better at quarterback. Joe Burrow just, he was at Ohio State just getting better and better. And hopefully, that's why everyone wants to see Jaden Daniels hopefully improve so bad, because with all this experience, all these practice reps at the collegiate level now in 2 programs, that just becomes a burning question, is how, is he improving, and then how much is he improving? It begs those questions, because the NFL, you just want Bill Parcells. It was Bill Parcells, and coaches back in the day, they wanted quarterbacks with more experience. Now this year, Anthony Richardson was kind of the contrary to that, because Richardson just such high-end level traits. Tested off the charts at the combine, 1 season starting at Florida. All those. He was the contrarian to that. To that opinion. But yeah, Jaden Daniels, with all the experience now, hopefully it's correlating to him just continuing to get better, working on his craft, developing as a passer, and making plays on the run. Yeah, just gonna go a few more minutes here. Yeah, the running back depth chart keeps coming to mind, and I think, I'm not as high on Logan Diggs' game as I should be. You hope that, I love his patience as a runner, but hopefully that doesn't start to frustrate the coaching staff. because running with patience like that, you can lose yardage. I think I've touched on this before. I think that's what LSU's thinking was getting Logan Diggs, that our offensive line has the potential to be so dynamic as a run blocking unit that if we get a guy like Logan Diggs who can run with patience combined with his good vision, that could be a really formula for him getting good positive yardage consistently. What I mean by positive yardage, like 3-4 yards consistently. So to me, I think Logan Diggs, based on that seemed logically why Logan Diggs was a good idea to get. But also, that's the positive way to look at it. The more pessimistic way to look at it is, he's going to get too kind of like with Jaden Daniels. Like, he's going to get too comfortable with the offensive line being good, and he's going to try to dance every play, and it's going to equate to lost yardage. In a big time game against Florida State or Alabama or the Florida game, which I think is going to be closer, you can't afford to have too many negative plays. That's one thing that football fans don't really talk about a whole lot. Negative plays really hurt an offense. Everyone talks about sacks, turnovers, penalties. Those are always the one talked about ad nauseum about you want to avoid. But tackles for loss, a tackle for loss that really hurts. And I'm not ripping on Logan Diggs, because there's a lot of good things in his game, but tackles for loss, you don't want, especially early in that game. Let's say Logan Diggs gets the nod in that game or in whatever game. Say he's the starter. Early tackles for loss, that just gives a defense confidence. And it kind of goes back to Urban Meyer used to have this thing where, he used to tell he was a psychology major. He used to tell his team, go out and get a first down. Why did he say that? Because if you get one first down, then you believe that you can get another one. If you're a defense, you get one tackle for loss, what does that immediately do? You believe that you can get another one. So one tackle for loss is just going to give the defense confidence that you can do it again. So I'm not trying to rip on Logan Diggs, but I think that is the concern with his game, and I think that's something you got to watch when he's on the field. But yeah, Goodwin, if you remember, Goodwin made some plays last year against Florida State. He's good out the backfield. Hopefully you get a couple big-time catches for him in the Florida State game this year. That would be big. But yeah, LSU running backs, you can talk about them all day. I really like Trey Holly, too, the incoming freshman they have. But yeah, some talented incoming guys, really good depth at running back. And yeah, I mean, we could go on forever about these guys. And but yeah, the bottom line, a lot of depth at the running back position. So I'm going to wrap with that. Thanks for tuning in to Bayou Bengals football. About to almost to the gym here. Stay tuned for more episodes and clips from the show.